I'm here today to introduce ChangeEight's Renewal Path. This is where you can find your way back after retirement. It's really the ultimate guide to retirement success. So we want to spend some time on it today. Here it is in visible form. The path spells renewal. You can see that moving from the left to the right. And we'll talk about little phases or stops on the renewal path here. Those are down below. So first is just looking. That includes the R and the E. That's where you recognize where you are. We don't always like where we are, but we need to understand where it is so that we can kind of improve things. So you're going to recognize that first. Where are you? We're going to examine that with the 8 dimensions of wellness. I'll talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness here and in other videos as well. They're critical to sort of understand how we can do better in our retirement phase. So we want to examine those. We want to recognize where we are with regard to that. This is called the just looking phase, and that's what it is. We're just looking. We're thinking about retirement. We haven't thought all the way through. We might have done some pieces. We might have made sure we got the money right and have a financial plan. But there's many more dimensions to wellness and health and retirement. So we want to recognize all of these. Our next phase, the get ready phase, has our letter N in it. And that's where you want to name one of the 8 dimensions, just one at a time, to try to work on, to try to improve. Because if you take a step in one dimension, it often and usually does connect to the other dimensions of wellness and makes our retirement years better. So if we can think about one where we could do some improvement, that often leads to improvements in all of the other areas. So this is where we're just going to name one of those 8 areas that we want to help improve for now. Then the next phase, that first step, we want to put that first step in place for our one named dimension where we want to improve. So let's say it's physical and you want to improve your physical health. Well, what does that mean? And what's the first step going to be? Is it going to be better nutrition? I'll drop out sodas. I'll eat more protein. I'll eat more vegetables. Any of those can be a first step. Or it could be physical, so it could be something about getting moving. Just walking around the block might be a small first step. Trying to make it to a 1 mile jog. Depends on where you are and where you stand. What is your first step going to be? That's the important part of that E on our retirement renewal pathway. Then we'll move on, after you've taken one small step, to our building phase, where we combine the letters W and A. W means we'll watch it widen, that first step. So that first step is going to move into something else. You're going to not just take that first block or that first trip out of your house, but you're going to build on that. You're going to watch that grow. You might add a longer distance to your walk. You might add strength training to your physical dimension. Whatever it is, we're going to see it widen because you're going to gain confidence and you're going to see improvement in whatever area you took that first step with. So that's the next thing. We're going to watch it widen, and then we're going to make sure it's anchored to something. So something already in your life usually. Maybe a morning routine. Maybe after breakfast you'll do your exercise. Maybe after supper, lunch. You'll have something in your life that you anchor it to. Maybe if you have a social engagement, you might add a walk to it. All of those things are examples of the ways we anchor things. So in our building phase, we want to widen and we want to make sure that our new activity or first step has been anchored to something already in our life. If we're doing all of that, we're doing a pretty good job, and our next stage is what we call living it. And that's where you have pretty good success. It becomes a habit, a routine. It becomes part of your life. whatever your first step was. So this is the renewal path, and if we can stay on it and use it, that's where we want to see at the end we're going to be retiring well and also living fully. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about retirement. Nobody really warns you about it. All of a sudden, you might have this hardest morning feeling. Could be an ordinary Tuesday, could be a Thursday, Saturday. It really doesn't matter. But something's not the same. When you had a job or a career, you had a reason to get up. You had a reason to be busy hurrying in the morning. But all of a sudden now, the house is quiet. There's no rush. So we often ask ourselves after 2, 3, 6 months, whatever it is, now what? What is it that I'm going to do in retirement? And this isn't wrong. You're not doing it wrong. Retirement's just a use of our time. You're not really ungrateful about it, but you're worried about it. And this is not uncommon. You're not the only one experiencing this issue. Hi, my name's Matt Getty, if I haven't met you yet, and I'm an educator, an occupational therapist. I've spent decades helping people rebuild after something big changed. A lot of times it was something like a brain injury or a stroke or a back injury. Anything like that, I help people rebuild their lives. Now, in May of this year, 2026, I retired myself, and I started to notice retirement is a real transition period. Thing is, retirement isn't just a money problem. A lot of people think of it that way. I've got to have enough money to get retired. And that's true. It's a big part of getting to retirement successfully. But it's not the only issue in retirement. We want to be really aware of that. So when you retire, what actually goes on is you start to ask yourself, well, who am I? Why was I here? What's the reason I'm going to get up now? Where are the people that I saw every day that I enjoyed, that were my friends? All of this goes away to some degree, usually very quickly in retirement. And so we want to be aware of these things. The nice thing that we could say about retirement is that it is predictable. It's just that we don't plan for it very well. That's what ChangeEight is about, is to help us understand and plan better for our retirement so it becomes something that we're really happy in. So your career was never just a paycheck. It was all these other things. You didn't just lose the job. You lost all that scaffolding, all that structure that helped put your whole life together. Now, life is a lot more than just your job or your career. And here's just a partial list of things that are important to think about in retirement. I'll talk a lot about them at ChangeEight. You'll see them in many of my other videos. Things like health, our social relationships. What's our purpose now that we're not at a job? Or how do you keep yourself intellectually stimulated with your mind? What are your surroundings? It's not the same people. It's not the same buildings. It's not the same events that you had during your working years. And then there's things like your spiritual, emotional, and of course the money side of retirement that we want to think about. So you're not really broken, even if you feel like retirement's not going that well. Now you might be a little lost, feel a little lost, unsure of what to do, but that's fixable. That's what I was saying is predictable. Once we understand how to do it, we can do a much better job of it. What we want to do is to tend to one part of those lists of 8 things I mentioned just a minute ago. And if we can do that, we can get started with one small step. That often lifts the other pieces. So think about taking one walk, getting a little better sleep, having something happy in your life lightening the mood, maybe just meeting that neighbor on the sidewalk and visiting. All of these things are just small things that we can get started with. Now, as we saw in the renewal path, people change in stages, not one giant leap. They go through these stages. They're predictable. We can make sure that we're doing them as we think about our retirement. So think about those stages and the letters that went with them. And really, there's no wrong stage to start from. You start anywhere, but you might just be at the just looking phase. And if that's the case, it's fine. That's where you're going to start. Okay, little small case example of Ruth. She was 28 years as a school librarian, and then she retired really right on schedule. There was no crisis. She knew it was coming. She said, "I have my health and my money, but I still feel like I'm lost myself." That surprised her. She didn't know that that would be the first feeling she might have in retirement. Well, we talked, and she decided that her one small step would be to be part of a book club. Now, I didn't know what this meant exactly, but in the end, that meant on those Tuesdays, she found her people at the library. She went back to the elementary school, and she started reading to kindergarten classes. This got her going. This gave her more purpose again. It was easy because it's what she already knew. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's a great place to get started. And what it did, it was her first small step. She took that step. She became more emotionally happy. She became more social. She became more physically engaged. She got out of her house more. All of those things started to happen just because she took one small step. 3 places that you might be standing. All I might mean by this is, again, you might be just looking. You might be enacting that first step. Any of these places on the renewal path are fine to get started in. You just need to recognize it where you are. All of them work. So a question to ask is, which parts of my life have gone kind of quiet? You may notice this. That's if you're not noticing it, you want to maybe slow down, take a minute, and just pay attention to what's going on in your life. You want to think about where one of those places is in your life. You don't have to fix it. You just need to look, pay attention. Where is it that I could do a little bit better? If something feels off, pick that one thing that's gone dark. Name a little thing, something that can give you a little hope for this week. One walk, one phone call to a friend or a family member, one page to read and understand. If you're ready now, you can take your step today. But remember, it's a small step. Don't try to take 10 steps, just the one small step. That'll get you started. Then things will widen and expand. So think about what that one step could be. Write it down. Make it something that's doable for you this week. You want it to be so small and easy that fear can't really argue with you. Because you see, fear is the thing that kind of keeps us on the sidelines. Make it easy. Make it so small that you really can't argue with it. So there's our renewal path again. And what I kind of just talked about were those first 3 steps. Just looking, getting ready, and taking that first step. If you can do that, you're starting to move down the path. And your retirement will start to look better. So if you're just looking, that's fine. You just want to think about those 8 dimensions and 8 areas and recognize where you are. If you're getting ready, you're going to try to really name where it is that you'd like to start. And then where do you start? With a small first step. If we can get here, we're doing great. Then things will widen and build, and then you'll be living it. So I want you to keep the renewal path in mind. If you ever feel like you're getting stuck in retirement, in that transition to retirement, come back to the renewal path. You can do this over and over again. You can imagine that you can do it with each of the 8 dimensions. So if you feel stuck in the emotional or social aspects, come back to the path. If you feel like you're stuck in the physical or spiritual steps, dimensions, come back to the renewal path, see where you are, and then move down that path. That's why I made it, for you to have an easy, simple tool to come back to get unstuck from, to know that you're in the right spot and that you can improve moving through the path. Just want to say that you've become someone new before. Lots of times. These transition areas in life. So you became a toddler. You became a kindergartner going to school. You became a middle schooler, high schooler, became a young adult. You see what I'm saying? There are these transitions. They're all through our life. You're just at a new transition, and you have to become someone new. You get to decide. That's the great part. You're in charge of your retirement. Who will you be? What will you do? All of those things are totally up to you. The Renewal Path is just a way to help you get there, and ChangeEight is just an organization that wants to help support you as you go through all of those ideas. So you're becoming somebody new, no big deal. You just forgot that you knew how to do that, and I'm giving you a new path to do that. So you could start here at the quick check. This is very easy. It's in the comments below. It just takes 3 to 5 minutes. It shows you which part of your life is asking for your help first. Just those 8 dimensions, which ones kind of light up for you. It's simple. It's free. I'd love it if you would take it for you and help go on this adventure with me here at ChangeEight. So remember, I want you to retire well and live fully. Take that quick check or join me in the free school community you see here. That'll be in the comments as well. And we want to see you there. Our community in school is a great place just to talk, describe, explain, ask questions. It's just a super place to get started with your retirement journey. Take care. Retire well, live fully.